March 1986. A body surfaces in a Texas lake. It's 20-year-old Patrice LeBlanc. She's been stabbed 39 times. Patrice doesn't have an enemy in the world. Her boyfriend, 32-year-old Cliff Ewens, says she just packed up and left. But Cliff isn't a typical boyfriend. He's very much in touch with his feminine side. Cliff is a drag queen. His most famous character is Brandy West, known for her cutting remarks and razor wit. But in September 1986, Cliff's glittering days on stage are over. He's convicted of his girlfriend's murder and sentenced to life in prison. All along, he's denied it. But now, he's coming clean to me from the All-Red Unit in Wichita Falls, Texas. I'm Candice DeLong. As an FBI agent, I worked on the front line for the world's most powerful law enforcement agency. I went undercover, I trailed terrorists, and I interviewed notorious killers. It's my job to understand the people who others cannot comprehend. Cliff, the name of this show is Facing Evil. Now, what evil have you faced in your life?
Myself.
How so?
Mainly because of the crime. We all have degrees of anger that we can go to. And unfortunately, I found that I went to the worst you could have.
We'll talk about that, but to start, what was your childhood like?
Wonderful. Wonderful.
No problems.
No problems. Great parents, pampered. There were three of us. I have an older brother, I have a sister.
And you were close?
Very close.
Cliff's childhood had a dark secret. From the age of 5, he knew that he was bisexual. That doesn't play well in 1960s Texas. But Cliff finds a safe haven in the flamboyance of the theater. When you were a young boy, what did you want from life? What did you see yourself doing?
Showbiz, showbiz, showbiz.
That's it.
From the get-go.
How old were you when you realized you wanted to be an entertainer?
11, 12, you know, little community theater stuff like that. Always playing dress-up. Was always fascinated with makeup. Not just drag makeup, but theatrical makeup. You know, always experimenting with the latex and the disguises. I always loved that. Always being able to hide behind the different characters.
What did dressing in drag do for you? You didn't just dress in drag, you performed as a woman.
Getting in drag for me was an empowering thing.
In what way?
Because I could walk into a room as myself and people wouldn't notice me. If I was in drag, I was beautiful and I could stop traffic. So doors would open, I'd get all that extra attention. I'm sure you've seen the pictures.
You were gorgeous.
Thank you. It was, I can say that because it was a creation. It was no different than painting a picture. Because at the end of the day, and the baby oil hits it, it's all gone. So it was something I created.
So it was kind of like wearing a mask?
Definitely, most definitely a mask.
Well, the thing about wearing a mask is it's two-sided. You're hiding behind the mask, the real you, but you're also presenting someone different on the outside of the mask. And did you feel both of those things?
Oh, yes, definitely. It was an empowering feeling.
Now I see the real motivation for Cliff's different personas. It is the power they give him, the control he can never have as plain old Cliff. speaking with 60-year-old Cliff Ewens, convicted of his girlfriend's murder in 1986. At the time, Patrice LeBlanc and Cliff move in together and even contemplate marriage. But Patrice isn't Cliff's first love. That was a man we will call Jimmy. He fell for Cliff when he was queen of the Houston drag scene, playing clubs 5 nights a week, surrounded by adoring fans. Can you describe the relationship looking back in 1 or 2 words?
Roller coaster.
Roller coaster.
Because he was having to live in my limelight. It was very hard on him. And I was probably very hard to live with because...
In what way were you hard to live with?
I was becoming famous. I had a lot of hangers-on, you know. Everybody was backstage. Everybody wanted to hang with me, be near me. And it was very hard, and I was probably becoming a little obnoxious, you know, egotistical.
Were you having arguments?
We would have arguments. Every time he left, I would find him. He would go hide because he knew if I got near him and I talked to him and I turned on the charm, he was back. He was back that night. If I could get to him, he was going to be back.
If you could get to him, you could get to him.
I could get to him. I could get to him.
This is possessive behavior, another sign of Cliff's need for power and control. After a tumultuous relationship, Cliff and Jimmy finally split for good. And Cliff turns to a woman, a young beauty named Patrice LeBlanc. For some, this gender switch may seem extraordinary. For Cliff, it feels totally natural.
People say they're bisexual, but they're usually leaning this way or they're leaning that way.
Not you, huh?
Put a beautiful guy here and a beautiful girl there, and they go, which do you want? I'll probably go, both. Is that possible? You know.
How old was Patrice when you met her?
I think 20.
And you were?
31.
31, so that's a bit of an age difference. Was she your first serious relationship with a woman? I mean, serious.
Yes.
Move in, I love you, serious.
Definitely.
But my understanding is she had a problem with you dressing up in drag and performing in drag. Yes, no?
She liked, I mean, when she first met me, that was one of the things she liked. And it was fun, and we all partied after the show. When we became lovers, I think it was a little harder for her to take. She didn't mind the shows, but she liked me to be out of drag afterwards. Because I always had acrylic nails, long acrylic nails. She'd come back sometimes herself and start popping those nails off.
Do you think she was trying to change you?
I don't know if she was trying to change me. I think she may have been trying to change the public perception of me so it was more palatable to her friends.
And then something happened. Patrice became pregnant.
Yes.
And what did you think of that? How did you feel about that?
I was more than fine with it. I was more than fine with it. I'm 32. I'm ready to settle down. I was ready to quit drag. I was ready to do anything because I was just happy. I thought, a kid, oh, this is great. This is like the ice cream on the cake. She was not. She was not. I think she was ambivalent about settling down. She was probably ambivalent about, am I the person she really wants to settle down with? I mean, I'm just being truthful.
Did Patrice want to terminate the pregnancy?
Yeah, all throughout I said, it's your decision. This is not my decision.
In late January 1986, 20-year-old Patrice terminates her pregnancy. A disappointed Cliff dreams they will still have a future, but his rampant jealousy will destroy those hopes. March 4th, 1986, Houston, Texas. Cliff Ewens and his girlfriend Patrice LeBlanc begin an argument that will end in murder. A good-looking man has offered Patrice a high-paying new job as his secretary. Cliff is convinced the role comes with strings attached.
We started the argument about going to work for this guy, and I was going, nobody is going to pay you that kind of money when you can't type, you know nothing, you've never been a secretary, so something fishy, you're not going to do that.
So you suspected something was up.
I was extremely jealous. Oh, I was very jealous. I'm with my lovers, I've always been
You've always been jealous.
Very jealous, very possessive.
Were you shouting at each other?
Got loud. I said something, she slapped me. I slapped her. Oh, that was it. She said, oh no, we're not doing this, I'm leaving, I'm leaving. She went into the other room, started packing.
Cliff has made a number of confessions to me. He can be jealous. He needs to be in control, and he does not take rejection well. Now he has another confession, one he refused to make at his murder trial. What happened?
There was a knife there on the counter from where we'd been eating some fruit earlier, and I took the knife and I just went at it.
Do you remember that moment, Cliff?
Mm-hmm. I live it every day.
What's it like for you?
28 years of hell.
What do you think happened that resulted in you picking up that knife?
I guess the old, if I can't have you, nobody will. There's nothing to blame for it. There's no drugs. There's no alcohol. There's nothing to blame for it but me.
Your temper.
My temper, my ego.
How many times did you stab her?
About 39.
What was that all about?
I don't, you know, after I started, I wanted to end it. I knew I'd already done something really wrong, and I kept thinking, I want this over. I wasn't thinking, oh, call a hospital. I was just thinking, I need to end this.
Cliff murdered Patrice in a rage of emotion. It was personal. He wanted to destroy her. What I find extraordinary is how Cliff can also say that he knew exactly what he was doing as he killed. In all my years in profiling, I've rarely heard such candor.
And the whole time I'm thinking, you know what you're doing, you've ended your life. I remember doing it at the same time thinking, you know you're going to get the death penalty for this.
Those thoughts went through your head.
Right during it, I'm thinking that. Thinking my whole life was over right there.
What made you stop stabbing her?
I guess I remember her falling to the ground and just thinking, well, there you go, you've done it now. Are you proud of yourself? Are you proud of yourself?
Do you remember how you felt when it really hit you that she was dead?
What have I done? What have I done? If I said that one time, I said it probably 200 times. And then realized, oh, what am I going to do? I've got to try to cover this up. Mm-hmm. And that's the side of me I'm most disgusted with.
Were you frightened?
Of course. But then, of course, you think, oh, I can get away with this.
Cliff dumps Patrice's body in Lake Livingston, just north of Houston. Then he starts making excuses for her absence.
People would call, she's not here, she's gone to the store. And her parents started calling, haven't seen her. She packed up, making up excuses. I was numb. I was just wondering how long till I get caught. I knew I'd get caught. And at the same time, part of me is thinking, oh, well, you can get away with this.
Texas, 1986. Drag queen Cliff Ewens tries to pull off his best performance yet as an innocent man. He murders his girlfriend and claims she's gone missing. But now her body has been found, floating in a lake. And Cliff is hiding out at his parents' house.
Did your parents know that you did it?
No. I say no. I don't know. Mothers always know something. One morning, 3 a.m., I was in the kitchen and she came in. She says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I can't sleep." And she goes, "Do we need to talk?" And I went, "No, we don't need to talk." She goes, "Are you sure?" And I went, "I'm positive." And she goes, "Cliff, did you do this?" And I went, "No, hell no, no. And at that point, it wasn't trying to cover anything up. I didn't want to hurt her.
Sure.
I didn't want to hurt her.
The police discover that Patrice's body was wrapped in Cliff's bathrobe. He'd pawned her jewelry and replaced blood-stained carpet in their apartment. Arrested and charged with murder, Cliff claims he's innocent. But the jury sees right through this performance. Found guilty, he's given life in prison. Then, 7 years later, the mask finally falls, and Cliff confesses the truth.
You denied it for 7 years, and then you admitted it. What was it that's uncommon?
Just, it can only eat at you so long. You know, you wanna start forgiving yourself, because that's where it starts, with forgiving yourself, but you can't forgive yourself if you're lying to everybody.
True.
Although Cliff has already confessed to his family and friends, a public confession indicates remorse. This is a sign of his rehabilitation.
Cliff, there are millions of people watching this interview. Based on what happened to you, if you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Look into your soul with every action that you do, because for every action, there is a reaction, and you will pay for it every day for the rest of your life.
I want you to imagine, just for a moment, that I am Patrice. What would you like to say to me?
I am so sorry that I took everything you gave me and threw it away. Because when your life ended, so did mine.
I want you to imagine that I'm Patrice's family. What would you like to say?
I cannot ask you for forgiveness, because there is no forgiveness when you take somebody from somebody like that. I carry hurt in me every day, as much for you as I do my family and everybody else. I start my day with it, and I end my day with it, because that's why I'm here. And if you haven't learned after 28 years, you're never going to learn.
What's your biggest regret in life, Cliff?
Well, obviously the crime, but letting my ego take over. That's my biggest regret, because ego can do a lot of damage.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell it.
And good luck to you.
Thank you, Candice.
Take care.
Bye.
28 years in prison has changed Cliff Hewins. He once loved to hide behind a mask, but it couldn't conceal the actions of a shocking, vicious murder. He seems remorseful, rehabilitated, a different man, atoning for his sins. Just another act? I think we saw the real Cliff today. He's one of the few killers I've met brave enough to face the awful truth of their crime. A truth that will haunt Cliff to his grave.